my gorgeous plant people, welcome back to Reading Mindfully. My name is Yana, and today I am doing an updated ficus collection, so let's just jump right into it. Hey guys, like I said, today I'm doing an updated ficus collection. Previously I called it my rubber tree collection, but seeing as though some of the new ficuses that I added to my collection aren't really rubber trees, I decided just to call it my ficus collection. And I just wanted to show you guys what's going on with my ficus, just to give you an updated view. They've been growing so well over the summer. Like I said, I did also add 2 new ones, and so I wanted to show you the updated what's been going on with them as well, and then just to see if I have any updated care instructions. Do I use the same care instructions, or do I have anything new to add? And so with my ficus collection, you guys know I love the ficus. I talk about these plants anytime I get, and they have just been growing so well for me. They have been my ride or die plants, and I would not be opposed to adding any more to my collection. They have just been growing so well, like I said. And so as you can see, I do have quite a bit. I have my Taneke here. I have my ruby, my green rubber tree, or I believe this one is even referred to as the robusta. I had the burgundy, and then down here I have my audrey and my altissima, and I will be adding pictures and little clips of these plants so that way you can see what they look like up close and personal. But the first plant that I added this year is the ficus altissima, and the reason why I added this plant to my collection is because my mom actually got this. I believe it was in one of her birthday haul videos, and I just love the lemon lime colors, the yellowy colors. This is also known as a golden gem. But I just love this plant. At first I wasn't really sure if I like this plant because I usually don't gravitate towards yellowy kind of, lime green plants. But this one is just really nice to have a different pop of green to your collection, especially if you're like me who just gravitates naturally towards green plants and not really, not a lot of plants that have like purples and orange and things like that. I do look for, a couple plants that have that lemon lime feature, and so that's why I like the altissima. The altissima, like the audrey, do have thinner leaves than the rubber trees, and so they do have a little bit of different care than the rubber trees, and I will go over that as well. But like I said, that is just a really beautiful plant that I've added to my collection. I did have a bit of a rocky start with this plant. It wasn't as easy as the rubber trees, at least for me. But then once I got to know the plant and understand, what the care was, it has just been growing wonderfully. The same can be said for the audrey. I also did lose a couple leaves on this plant as well when I first got it. But it has been growing so well, and you can see that it's been putting on a lot of growth. These 2 plants did struggle a little bit because I did order them when it was kind of cold outside, and so for them to bounce back beautifully has just been so nice. I thought for a minute that I was going to lose these 2 plants, but I'm really glad that I didn't and that they're growing so well. This one also has a thinner leaf, and the leaves are more velvety than the other plants that I have, which is really nice if you want to add something different to your collection. If you like the ficus but you want something just a little bit different, I would recommend the audrey, but like I said, the watering is a little bit different for those. And then we have my Taneke. You guys know this is like one of my favorite rubber trees for sure. I show this plant every chance I get, and this plant has been outside all summer and has put off so much new growth, if you can see here. And as you can see, the top leaves are coming in more like ruby and more pink. That is because it's been receiving a lot more light. And so I noticed that the plants, when I put them outside, they have been receiving Because they have been receiving more light, they are more pink. Some of the leaves are a little bit smaller than what I did get when they were under my sandy light, but the addition of the pink just makes the plant so interesting and beautiful. I am not too upset about the leaves being smaller. And then with the ruby, this plant is just absolutely gorgeous. It has been loving it outside. This plant has 3 plants in here, that's why it's so full. It is the only plant that I have in my collection that actually has 3 stems in there. And I'm actually kind of thinking whether or not I want to have all of the plants with 3 in them, or at least 2. Most of them do have 2 in them without, for the exception of my green rubber tree. This is the only one that has 1 plant in the pot, and that is because they are hard to come by, at least in my area. I haven't really come by too many green rubber trees. And the one that I thought I found from the stump, I thought it was a green rubber tree, but then after doing research, I think it was an Abidjan, but I'm not really sure. But nevertheless, that plant did not do well in my collection. It had some kind of pest that I couldn't get rid of, and it just declined very, very quickly. And so with the green rubber tree, this plant was hardly doing anything for me until I put it outside during the summer, and then it put off these huge broad leaves, if you can see that. And this one just looks absolutely gorgeous. The leaves are a lot bigger than they were even just a couple leaves ago. Around this area, they're a lot broader. And so I really am liking this green rubber tree, just to have something that's a little bit more plain, so that I have a balance of variegated and non-variegated plants in this collection. And this is the one where I do want to go ahead and add another stem to the pot. It does have this big empty spot here, which to me is just begging for me to add another plant. And so I think I'm just going to add another one. But comment down below if you like my plants better with 2 stems or 3 stems. Like I said, my ruby is the only one with 3 stems, and you can see how full it is there. All the rest of them have 2, except for my green rubber tree. And then the last one I have is my burgundy rubber tree. This one is also very beautiful. I would say that this one probably isn't my favorite one, but it is very beautiful. If you want like a more, I think this plant is understated and stated, because if you had this like in a corner of your house that got a lot of light, or in front of your window, this would be very beautiful, as well as it would grow extremely well. And so it would be a nice big statement plant to have, especially if it was a bit bigger than the one that I currently have. But as far as coloring, it might not be as beautiful as the Taneke, but it is still a beautiful plant in my opinion, and it also grows really well. And so as far as care, my care for the rubber trees are still the same. If you watch my other video, I still give these plants, I still recommend that these plants are highlight plants. So if you can put these plants, especially like the variegated variety, in more of a south facing window or even a west facing window, I really recommend that you do that. Or if you have a grow light, that you place the plants under a grow light. I myself place my plants under my sandy lights when I bring them in for the fall, late fall and winter. And so mine do really well under the sandy lights. And then when I put them outside, that's when they put on a lot of growth. But my Taneke has also put on a lot of growth under the sandy light, so either or I feel like would be a good option. As far as watering, I wait for my rubber trees to be bone dry before I go ahead and water them. I always use my moisture meter no matter what, and I wait till the moisture meter reads a 0 for these, and I feel like these really appreciate that. They do like to dry out. It's very easy to overwater rubber trees, and so I definitely will wait until the moisture meter reaches 0. Otherwise, you may start to get yellow leaves and then they will start to fall off. You will also get yellow leaves if you don't give your plants enough light. As far as the thinner leaf varieties, these are the only ones that I recommend that you give, that you don't water, that you don't wait until they're bone dry. I found that when these are bone dry, that's when I start to lose leaves. And so these I will water when the moisture meter reads about a 1 or sometimes even a 2, it depends. But with these thinner varieties, because the leaves are so much thinner, they do require a little bit more watering, or they require for you not to let them go as dry as the rubber trees, because these are so thick and hardy, they can go longer without getting water. So if your leaves, and this goes for a lot of varieties of plants, if your leaves aren't as succulent, then you would have to water those plants more, versus plants that are more succulent and thick, then you would water them less. So I do water these. I don't wait till they dry out completely, because they do drop leaves, and these especially will droop when they need water. And I've found that happening a couple times, especially since my plants have been outside. As far as temperature, I still recommend the same temperatures, at least 60 degrees, really 65 is good. And then I would say up to like 85 degrees is good. I noticed that outside when my plants, when it got to be 90 degrees or higher, they do start to wilt. And so their leaves will, kind of wilt like this until the temperatures come back down, and then they will, straighten back up. For humidity, I recommend, household humidity. Even a little bit more humidity is good as well. As if you watch my humidity video, I stated in that video that my humidity is a lot lower outside than it is in my home. So I feel like these plants will do well even with lower humidity. And mine have been doing really well with lower humidity. Sometimes the humidity outside is 45%, and these plants have still been doing wonderfully. As far as pests, the one pest that really attacks these plants is spider mites. And with that, I would just make sure that you don't let the plant go too dry, where they're constantly drooping all the time. You will stress out the plant, and that will cause the plant to send out pheromones, which will attract pests like the spider mites, and then you'll have to deal with that. But you can use Captain Jack's or any kind of insecticidal soap, and that will help get rid of the spider mites. I also noticed that sometimes scale can be on your plants, and if you look for scale, make sure you check the bottoms of the leaves, and especially the trunks. That's where a lot of scale will show up on your plant. And you can use insecticidal soap and things like that, and just kind of like lightly scrape the scale off. Even with good insecticides, the scale will sometimes just kind of slide off. For propagation, I have yet to propagate my plants, but you could go ahead and prune the top off. You could prune the buds off, and that will encourage, like branching and things like that. You can notch the plant. I haven't done that, but I feel like in the future, if my plants get too big, I will do a video on propagating my rubber trees. And then you could also, if you propagate them, I would just make sure you get a bit of the stem, because I have seen that when you propagate with the leaf, you don't have as much success. It's better if you get part of the stem in the little node area, so that way you can get roots and grow a new plant. And so those are the care tips that I have for the rubber trees. These have just been my favorite trees of all time, my favorite plants, and they have just been growing so well for me. I really don't have to think too much about them, and they just continue to grow. They love being outside, especially if you can give them that really bright light. If you do put them outside, just like with any plant, I would go ahead and make sure you acclimate them. So put them in a shadier spot, and then just over time move them out to the brighter spot, and they will do so well for you. And if you notice that your plant is getting burnt, just move them back into the shade and let them acclimate a little bit longer. But like I said, comment down below if you think I should get another green rubber tree to fill out my pots, and whether you think I should fill out my pots with 3 stems. I feel like at least with 2 stems they look really good, but I just want to get you guys' opinion. And comment down below if you guys are struggling with the rubber tree, or if you really love the rubber trees. Or any of the ficus. If you have any that I don't have, like the Benjamina, there is the fiddly fig, which is very infamous, more of a kind of a harder plant in my opinion. There are so many different ficus that you can get. There's the infamous Shiveriana, which I would love to have, but I'm not about to spend $250 to $500 for that plant. But maybe if I kind of, you know, hold my eyes closed or blink or whatever, maybe I think that my ruby is the Shiveriana, you know, if I could dream about it. And then there's others like the Doscri, where they have like more narrow leaves. It looks more like the Taneke, but instead of the leaves being so broad, they're more narrow and pointy. And so there's a ton of varieties of ficus trees if these aren't your style. But yeah, so comment down below. Please like and subscribe. I'm so glad you guys are taking the time to watch my videos, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.